Hi, I'm meteorologist Justin Storm with another stormy weather winter storm update for you for this winter storm warning that's been issued across most of the state of North Dakota down into Minnesota. This all as modest to heavy snow totals and strong winds combine to produce some difficult traveling out there. We'll break down the snow totals and timing and how much snow is going to fall where and what the most likely travel implications are going to be and impacts to you across the region. So let's take a look at what we're dealing with right now for advisories and warnings. These are active for Wednesday night, Thursday afternoon, and as we head into Minnesota, and I'll show you that in a moment, those will start to expire into Thursday night. So here we have high wind warnings from Montana into western South Dakota, where they're going to see gusts upwards of 60 miles an hour. And pink, well, I should say purple, or whatever color you want to call that, periwinkle maybe, from Williston through Bismarck down to Jamestown, south into northeastern South Dakota. That's for a winter weather advisory. Still going to be dealing with some strong winds, some light snow accumulation, and as well some freezing rain that they're already getting out in western North Dakota. It's a mess out there. I'll tell you that right now. It's not going to be fun to drive through there tonight, and especially tomorrow as winds really ramp up with the wind. It's just going to be nasty. But here's the main story of what we're covering, and that's in our pink area here. The winter storm warning from Crosby, Minot, Bottineau through the Devil's Lake Basin as we travel east through the Red River Valley and down towards the Twin Cities region. That winter storm warning will extend all the way into Wisconsin. And as we take a zoomed out look, well, it's a lot of advisories out there, mostly wind through Montana down into Nebraska. And those worst wintry conditions going to be North Dakota, Minnesota, Wisconsin, with the worst snow accumulation or highest snow accumulation. Maybe I shouldn't say worst because I think that that's great news. And pink, or again, whatever color you want to call that. Maybe I don't even know what color. We'll just call it pink. If you got a better color than that, let me know down in the comments. Now, how much snow is going to be falling throughout the course of this event? Well, this is likely going to be towards the most probable. Let me tying this up a little further out here. This will be probably towards the most probable snow to fall. Maybe you could add an inch or so off into Minnesota in spots to this, but I think this does a fairly good job if I were to put bets on how much snow is going to fall in each location. I think spots over in Minnesota, say maybe Brainerd, St. Cloud, up towards Hibbing, Bemidji, might be able to add another inch or maybe 2 to that, but within the valley, a good 4 or 5 inches in Grand Forks and Fargo would be a good bet on there, and those amounts definitely taper up as we head towards the Devil's Lake area and Minot up towards Rolla. Probably see some pockets that are in that 8 to 9 inch range. Now, this is going to be using just a 10 to 1 ratio, and I think in spots, and especially into north central North Dakota, this is going to come down at a little bit higher than a 10 to 1 ratio. Now, I'm going to show you a second model run here. This will use a slightly higher amount, and this will show us our mid to upper bounds to how much snow is going to fall or likely to fall out of this event. So we can see some spots up into where we're seeing by Minot, the Devil's Lake area, 12 to 14 inches. I really don't think that that's going to pan out, and I think about 8 to 10 would be about as much that would fall out of this in some spots. This isn't going to be a solid swath of 10 inches or 12 inches of snow right here, but within here, that's the greatest bet of seeing those higher snow amounts. Now, as we head towards the valley, those amounts do taper off. We're seeing upwards of about 7 inches of snow in both Fargo and Grand Forks, and amounts towards the Brainerd Lakes area around 5, 5.5, quickly tapering off towards Duluth and Hibbing down to about 2 or 3 inches. St. Cloud, Minneapolis, again, kind of in that 4 to 8 inch range, and for the most part, I think a good 3 to 6 inches is what's pretty likely to fall, with localized areas slightly higher than that. Let's say from Jamestown up towards the Devil's Lake area, Grand Forks to Fargo, through Fergus and Bemidji, down towards Brainerd and St. Cloud. A pretty good bet for 3 to 6 inches of snow, and again, within there, due to just periodical and unknown banding on exactly where it sets up and how it sets up due to dynamic forces in the atmosphere, that the models just really don't do the greatest of job at resolving. And it's just kind of one of those things you got to wait till it happens to really identify where that banding is going to set up, and for how long is still a little questionable as well. But because of those factors, that's where you will see those localized areas that see a little bit more snow accumulation out of there. So for the most part, again, we'll see anywhere from about 4 to 8 inches with some localized areas upwards of 10 throughout north central North Dakota, tapering off closer to a 4 to 7 inch range within the central northern valley. And again, about 3 to 6 with some localized areas off into Minnesota. Now, amounts quickly taper off on the south side of this system. As you travel south, you'll quickly go from, say, 4 inches to a light dusting and an inch. And again, throughout this area, there's going to be freezing rain. I'll show you your simulated model radar, time it out for you here in just a second. But a pretty good bet for wider spread, more uniform snow in the northern half of Minnesota down towards Wisconsin. So that's what snow totals are looking like right now. Again, amounts on the upper end will probably be closer towards the Devil's Lake area and Minot. But again, for the most part, I think it's a pretty good bet that we'll see amounts somewhere around here. Again, amounts a little bit higher in Minnesota. Maybe add another inch within the valley and over in eastern North Dakota to a few spots. So kind of average it out between this model and this model. And I wish I could modify this my own way, but I just can't. So I'm hoping that this is enough to understand that. Again, for the most part, 3 to 7, 4 to 7 inches of snow for most locations out of this system. Now let's back it up and let's take a look at what we're dealing with for the timing of this system. Let's time it up here to about 10 o'clock, which is where we're at right now. And that's fairly close to what we're seeing as light snow really engulfs most of the valley. I'll pull this up here just for a quick second, just to kind of show you what we're looking at. And for the most part, that's kind of what we're seeing. This is active radar just from this exact time period, and that's going to line up pretty close with where we're at right here at 10 o'clock. And it's 9:50 as I'm speaking right now during this recording. We'll see that snow starting to come into the area. Pockets of freezing rain out from Williston to Dickinson, down towards Pierre, up towards Bismarck, and this whole little area is going to shift further to the east as the low progresses further east as well. So we're going to see some southerly winds picking up throughout tonight. I'll show you that here in just a moment. And those southerly winds will be gusting at times about 25 to 30 miles an hour from Brookings and Marshall up through Fergus Falls, Fargo, Jamestown, Grand Forks, Devil's Lake, up into Canada. And then on the backside of this system, we'll see the winds whipping back around out of the north and northwest. So we'll touch on that, but expect some southerly winds through tonight and slight snow becoming heavy at times after midnight to progress and build into Minnesota as we head throughout tonight. Now, this is going to bring us up to 6 o'clock in the morning, and depending on exactly how and where the low ultimately situates itself, there's going to be a bit of a lull in the winds, and there's also going to be some pockets where the snow is going to shut off, and especially the farther south you get of Fargo into northeastern South Dakota, and within this area too, within the low, there may be a few spots of a wintry mix and some freezing drizzle. So keep that in mind. Say if you're around Jamestown, Oaks, Aberdeen, Marshall, Brookings, Morris, Fergus Falls, you might see a little bit of patchy freezing drizzle through the morning hours. But for the most part, most of this should stay as snow. So this is 6 o'clock in the morning, 7, 8, and now 9 o'clock. We'll see more snow bands starting to fill in those areas of a lull activity. The wind gusts will back off throughout the north side of this low system. So don't expect the excessive wind gusts. You'll still have some steady wind, but the excessive wind gusts aren't going to be there. And I'll show you that here in a second with the winds. But you'll start to see just more scattered showers, snow showers on the backside of this, and windy conditions. And as we head throughout Thursday afternoon, that's where more of the wind gusts are going to take place throughout the Red River Valley. If you're off in central North Dakota and especially in South Dakota, those wind gusts are going to be whipping all morning. So we'll show you wind here right now as we take a look at the end of our Thursday afternoon. Snow for the most part going to start shutting off by about 6 o'clock in the evening throughout the Red River Valley. A little later into the evening, say 9, 10, 11 o'clock throughout central Minnesota. And then we'll see calming conditions through the rest of the night as the winds lighten up across North Dakota. High pressure will start to build in. It's going to get a little cold. Here are your winds throughout the course of this event. Let's back it up or keep an eye or a remembrance of where that snow is going to be panning out throughout tonight, building into Minnesota towards Thursday morning. Here's our southerly winds on the first side of it. Again, long bars are going to be about 10 miles an hour. Short bars are about 5 miles an hour. So when you get a long and a short bar, you're looking at about 15 to almost 20 miles per hour. But look at out on the back side of this. We're seeing anywhere between 2 and 3 full bars. So that's between 20 and 35 mile per hour sustained winds. It's going to be very windy out there, but Throughout tonight, southerly winds pick up 10 to 25, gusting to about 30 miles an hour. Into the morning hours, 6, 7, 8. Notice how the winds have backed off within the Red River Valley. That means that the blowing and drifting snow, although still going to be around with the falling snow, isn't going to be quite as bad. So there's going to be a little bit of a, hey, maybe this storm isn't quite as bad as what everybody was saying, and you'll see the winds picking up throughout the afternoon. So just don't get discouraged if you're Grand Forks, Fargo, Oaks, when you wake up and you start that morning commute out there and in-town driving, out-of-town driving, because the winds on the backside of the system really going to start ramping up and whipping back in as we head past 9, 10, 11, and 12 o'clock. Here we're getting our north winds starting to kick in on the backside of that system. Minnesota, now you're dealing with the lighter winds at about 10 to 20 miles an hour, but a solid 15 to 30, 30 to 40 mile an hour wind taking place out of North Dakota, even stronger down into South Dakota. That progresses through the afternoon, and as we head towards 6 o'clock, the winds do start to back off a little bit, but we'll still see winds at 10 to 25 miles an hour until about midnight. As that high pressure system starts to build in, we'll see the wind shutting off throughout most of all of North Dakota, a little earlier in the evening for areas of northern and central North Dakota. So expect decreasing wind through the evening into the early overnight hours of Thursday and throughout Thursday night and Friday morning for areas of Minnesota, say Minneapolis and St. Cloud, although with the trees, the wind doesn't hit you quite as hard as it does here in North Dakota. Here's your wind gust that we're going to be watching for. Here's your maximum or near maximum wind gust potential through tonight. Again, about 30 to 40 mile per hour wind gusts. Here's the center of that low where the wind gusts are going to be light. The winds will be light as well as that pushes into the valley. There's your little lull in the blowing and drifting snow. Only about 5 to 20 mile an hour or 10 to 20 mile an hour winds within this region right here. And within the low itself, going to be fairly calm. I mean, you'll have a little wind, but nothing bad. But check out down through South Dakota, and if I back this up a little bit throughout tonight, there's wind gusts over 60 miles an hour expected across Montana into South Dakota throughout tonight. And as we head into the afternoon, we'll see our wind gusts here in the Red River Valley building to about 30 to 40 miles an hour. And throughout the afternoon, say from Brainerd to St. Cloud to Fergus, about 20 to 35 miles an hour. And those winds will pick up a little bit as we head after dark Thursday up to about midnight. You'll still be looking at wind gusts in that 30 to 40 mile per hour range, eventually backing off as we head towards the morning hours of Friday. Temperatures as well, it's going to warm up a little bit in the morning to teens and 20s across the Red River Valley over into Minnesota, but quickly dropping off throughout the rest of the afternoon across North Dakota into the single digits after dark. And for overnight low temperatures, we'll see temperatures dropping into the teens below zero, and with the wind, it's going to feel a little bit colder than that, although the wind won't be too big of a factor. Your wind chills are still going to be a little chilly out there as we head into your Friday morning, and once this logs up here, we'll see anywhere from about 5 to 25, 30 below in a few spots, depending on exactly how strong that wind is going to be playing out. So that's what things are looking like for Friday. After our little event here, we'll see another little minor clipper system that's going to roll through on Saturday. Friday night, Saturday morning. Not a big deal with this little system here. I'll show you it here on simulated radar. There it is. Not a whole lot to talk about. I think it's going to go a little further east towards Fargo, but again, within this area, you know, a little light snow, a little light dusting of snow, nothing to really worry about, and it's out of here before Saturday morning. There's a little bit more light snow that comes through, and this is 6 o'clock Saturday morning. The rest of your Saturday afternoon, a little breezy, not too bad. We'll watch another little clipper system, which will mainly go through South Dakota into southern Minnesota, but may extend a little bit throughout this region along and south of the I-94 corridor into Minnesota. That could produce a little light snow and a little bit of patchy freezing drizzle. So we'll keep an eye on that. This brings us up to about 6 o'clock in the morning on Monday. So Wisconsin, old Scotty, getting in on a little bit of light snow as that other system tracks over there. After that, things for the most part Tuesday are quiet, and for Christmas Day on Wednesday, if I'm pulling this up the right way, we'll see, again, fairly quiet weather throughout the afternoon. And on Thursday, not a whole lot to talk about. Friday, what is that? Is that rain in Minnesota? We'll take a look at that at another video since this one's approaching 15 minutes, but there is a chance for some rain showers as we head into the end of the week and into that weekend after Christmas. So if you do have some traveling plans, that is something we will be keeping an eye on, but that is for another day. If you got any questions, comments, if you made it this far into the video, I appreciate it. Thanks for the support. Share this video, help get this information off to more people, and if you have any comments or questions, drop them down below. I'll try and get them answered. If you don't mind, I love knowing where all my listeners are coming from. We've got people all across North Dakota, a few down in South Dakota, a lot of folks over in Minnesota as well. I even got one person off in Sweden. That's kind of cool. So if you don't mind, if you want to, feel free to share where you're listening from or where you're tuning in from.